Hey everybody, I know you guys have been waiting for this for like a day or two, so hopefully it'll meet your expectations. What's going to happen here is that, well, before I go into that, let me tell you kind of what the background of what this was, so you guys have an understanding why I let Christian Hillbilly back on my channel, something I would normally not have done. However, I had extended the offer to quote Jim on my Facebook page, not knowing that Jim was Christian Hillbilly, because he was babbling the same kind of things, and I just said, like I usually do, if you'd like to come on air to discuss these things, I am more than fine with that. He accepted. Then he revealed he was Christian Hillbilly. Okay, not his fault. I should have recognized the name. I take full responsibility for that, but I was not going to revoke the invitation because I thought that was be a crappy thing to do. I mean, his arguments are his arguments, but we all know the little past about Jim. We're going to be talking about some things, specifically more along the lines of morality systems, something that I am not an expert in by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I've been saying for the longest time, I'm still trying to figure out my moral framework, which is fine. I find nothing wrong with that. I don't want to get this bogged down with technical jargon and philosophical speak. If I wanted that, I'd invite all the Pal Talk Power Rangers. But I just not really interested in the formalities. I just want to have an organic conversation of what actually is our morals and who has a better moral system, me or Jim here. We also got Tony Reed with us. He's going to be our kind of moderator and special guest, and he's going to be determining whether the questions are valid, if people are answering them. And if you guys don't know Tony Reed, by the way, I'll bring him in just a second. Go to the video link below. He has a great YouTube channel, which is highly underrated, probably one of the most underrated channels and underviewed channels on the internet. And he has a series called How Creationism Taught Me Actual Science. Taught me real science.
Real science.
Real science. Yeah, actual is my word. I use a lot. So, hey, real quick before we get started, Tony, introduce yourself if people don't know you yet. And if they don't know you, why? I mean, his videos are freaking brilliant. Go ahead and tell everybody who you are.
My name is Tony Reed. I like you said, I do a show called How Creationism Taught Me Real Science. It's really about the I guess that's the biggest compliment that I get, is that they're very well-researched videos. I try to be fair. It's not a combative show. I don't try to, in fact, I don't even say that creationism is wrong. I just say the argument is wrong. I guess that's the best summary of it.
Oh, people are asking about your moderation. Oh, no, people don't get confused. Tony will engage as well with Jim. I just want to kind of start off, then I'll kind of let them two kind of go at it as well. This is going to be kind of a free-for-all kind of thing, but I just want to like start off because this was a conversation I was having with Jim. But yes, Tony will be engaging with Jim just as much as I will, I assure you. Right, Tony?
Yep, I definitely will.
You're scared of Jim. I don't know. If you're scared, let me know.
I don't think so. I don't think
you're not shaking or anything. Okay, anyway, so let me get Jim in here. Jim, Christian Hillbilly, you there?
Yes, sir.
Do you want to give your overview of how this transpired and where you want to go with this conversation?
Well, sure. Well, just let me tell you a little bit about myself. Some people do know about me. I am Jim, also known as the Christian Hillbilly, and my website's christianhillbilly.com if you're interested in finding out more. I am a Bible-believing Christian. I believe the Bible is true and correct, right from the very first verse where it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, right to the very last word of Revelation where it says, amen. Bible so much, I believe the section called maps. Like you said earlier, Steve, you and I are friends on Facebook. I don't even know how that occurred because I've got like 3,500 friends, but it did. And I've commented on some of your stuff before, and we started talking about morality. And so that's what led to this.
Yeah, I honestly should have recognized your name. I do know your real name. I'm not going to just say it because I just don't need to, but I've known you for a very long time, and so I just didn't put two and two together for some reason. There was a disconnect there, and I don't know if you knew that I didn't know, or did you know, or did you feel like I didn't know? I'm just curious.
I didn't really know that you did not know. I just assumed that you did.
No, honestly, I really didn't. That's why when I found out, it's kind of like, oh, okay. Because I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I normally would never have had you on my channel ever again for the fact of some of your positions. So just we'll get into that though. but I just want to be upfront about that. But since I am a man of my word and I did offer, I'm obviously going to follow through with that. All right, so you want to talk about morality, and you want to talk about my moral systems versus your moral systems, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to be the gentleman here, and I'm going to let you ask the first question, and then Tony, can you kind of like guide the conversation from there for a few?
I will do my best.
You'll do awesome, man. All right, Jim, go ahead. Ask me what you want to ask me.
Okay. In the conversation that we were having on Facebook, one of the things you mentioned was if it was wrong to kill and eat a child. You had said something that, yes, you knew it was wrong. My question is without an absolute moral lawgiver, how can you say with absolute assurance that killing and eating a child is wrong? If it's wrong today, will it be wrong tomorrow? And do your morals change over time?
Okay,
that might be more than the question. Sorry.
Yeah, sure. And I kind of want to avoid the philo speak, but unfortunately, sometimes it has to be done a little bit. So when it comes to my position, I understand moral relativism, which is basically the position that morals are based upon social things, compacts, value ethics, and things of that nature. I'm tending right now to what's called universalism, but these things can change. My morals can change, yes. I don't think there's necessarily an absolute moral system. Is it possible? Absolutely. I'm kind of tending toward what's called ideal observer theory at the moment, which again can change, but basically that I think that you can put truth values to moral propositions. I think some propositions are true, and I think that if a person, an average person called the ideal observer, looks at the situation and says, this is what a person should do. Because again, when we're talking about morals, right? And morals are what we should do, what we ought to do, not what is, right? It's not an empirical thing. Empiricism is what is, and morals are what should be. So there's nothing we can actually say and go, okay, this is what it ought to be. There's no thing we can point to and say, this is the fact of the universe, at least into my perspective. Now, you use the Bible for that. Okay, fine. I don't need the Bible for that. I have values instilled in me long before I even knew what the Bible was, that I can determine right from wrong. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. And go ahead.
Okay, so let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Tony, is that satisfactory? Tony's froze. Tony's frozen in fear and stunning. He's just stunned, isn't he? No, is he? I think he lagged out. He's not moving, is he?
I think he did.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Somebody doesn't move for a few seconds. He might have to reload. Anyway, so all right. So my question to you is, it's a twofold question, if I may. The first one's pretty basic, so I don't want to count as a question, but you do subscribe to divine command theory, right?
Well, what do you mean by divine command theory?
Divine command theory states that whatever God tells you is moral by definition.
Well, yes, I do subscribe to that because we have his word, and because we have his word and his law is etched on each and every one of our hearts, we can know what is right and wrong. Even you can know what is right and what is wrong without the Bible. And that's how people on the other side of the planet that have never heard the good news of the gospel know what's right and what is wrong.
Okay, so in context with the base, we were talking about killing and eating babies, or somebody had pointed out last night, eating babies alive is even worse. I will agree with that, but let's, for this conversation, killing and eating babies. So if God commanded you to do that, you would have to agree that that would be moral, correct?
No, I wouldn't have to agree, because God won't do that. Because we have God's word, the absolute authority that God gives us, and we know that murder is wrong. Because murder is wrong, God will never command us to murder.
Okay, the question is not if he would or would not. The question is, if he did, would it be moral?
God would not.
Okay, but that's, again, not the question. So I'm going to ask the question again.
But
Tony, are
the
you
question
back?
is malformed.
Hey, Michael. Oh, Michael, you know.
Welcome back.
Welcome, Michael. Tony, are you there?
Yeah, hold on.
Oh.
Yeah,
I think I got echo here. Okay, Tony, give me a mic check real quick.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah.
Check.
And who's the echo then? Oh, weird. Okay. So Tony, I need you to kind of intervene at this point. I'm asking a very specific question due to what's called a hypothetical question. I am not asking if God would do it or not. That is a different question. I am asking if God commanded Jim to go out and kill babies and start eating them, would that be moral, and would he do it? That is the question directed to him.
Okay. Go ahead. And your answer to that, Jim, is
that God has given us his directives, his edict from the very start in his holy word. We know that murder is wrong. So killing an innocent child and eating them is wrong by definition, because God has told us already in his word. Now, God is not psychotic to where he's going to tell us to do one thing in 1 second and tell us to do something totally diametrically opposed to that in the next section. So again, that the question itself is malformed in that it. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you're fine. Go ahead.
I don't think what he's doing is dictating to you what God does say. I think he's asking a hypothetical. If, for reasons beyond our understanding, God decides that you should go murder and eat a baby, okay, would it be? I mean, would it be evil or not?
Correct. Because we have
murder is evil by definition. Murder is evil.
Oh,
so God is not going to tell us to do something that he tells us is wrong. God's not going to say, okay, murder is
Christian
wrong,
Hillbilly.
and then turn around and tell you to murder.
Christian Hillbilly. And this is a probably better way of getting to the point. Why is murder evil? Is murder evil because God says so, or is murder evil for a different reason?
Murder is evil because it goes against the nature that God has put in us. Murder is evil because it destroys the image of God in which we are created.
Has God ever commanded anybody to go murder somebody?
Nope.
Okay, so no killings in the Bible then. He's never. That's
not plenty of righteous. There's plenty of righteous judgment in the Bible.
So if he commands it,
God does not murder.
Okay, I want to make sure I clear this up. So if God commands people to go kill another group, like like the Amalekites, then that's fine.
Absolutely, because that's righteous judgment. Why did he do that?
Great. No, okay, so he's commanding people to go out and kill.
Yep, that's righteous judgment.
Okay, so that is a moral act, correct?
That is righteous judgment. By definition, would be a moral act because God has commanded it.
Okay, so now, again, the question is, if God, again, hypothetical, and again, I want everybody to listen to this carefully and see if he's answering or not. In your moral system, Jim, if God commands you to go out and kill and eat babies, is it moral? Would you do it? Not that he would or would not. Please answer the question in respect to how it is being asked.
Well, sir, it's malformed. God is perfect. And God is not going to tell us to do something that is against his design, against his laws. Murder, by definition, is a sin. God's not going to tell us to go out and sin. That's not going to happen.
He didn't say murder.
I said kill.
Well, see, if you kill an unborn baby or kill a baby and eat it, that is murder, sir, by definition.
If God commands it. Now,
how is it murder? No. He didn't say murder. Jim.
I didn't say
murder. He said kill.
I will ask.
No, but I did. I said murder.
I understand that you're saying murder, but he said kill. And let's say that God commanded that the baby be killed and eaten. That then would not make it murder. It would just make it a
God
kill.
Does not do that, sir. I don't know why that's so hard to understand. God does not tell an individual to go out and kill another individual.
Jim, that's not the question. So let me ask the panel. Is my question malformed? Can I take a vote? Tony.
It's not malformed if you're not saying murder.
Okay, which I'm not saying murder. I'm saying
right. If you say murder, it's malformed.
Correct.
What is the killing of a baby? Murder?
I'm not answering your questions until I get a panel check. Is my question?
I answered your questions, sir. We had this problem the other night.
No,
again, when you know what the God of the Bible says, when you know what the God of the Bible says, the God of the Bible says, "Thou shalt not murder."
Okay, so we all agree that he cannot answer.
Right. All right, Steve, can I handle him for a second? Just
you may, Ocean, please, by all means.
Okay.
Yes.
So he's not saying murder. He's saying kill a baby and eat it. So
Right,
there's
he's
no
calling
murder
it
taking
kill,
place.
but it's actually murder.
God
So let's be
commanded.
clear on that.
God commanded the killing of the baby and the eating of the baby. So it would not be murder because it's lawful. So according to God's command. So would that
maybe
be,
the God that you believe in, but not the
that
God
be
you believe
moral
in.
or not?
I need to moderate for a second. Do we know MK? This is not MK, is it? Like the MK?
I don't fucking know.
I don't know who this person is. MK, if you want to be shown, you're gonna have to show me who you are. Oh, wait, which one?
It says Matteo.
Yeah, but I don't know who's Mateo.
I don't know what that means either. So anyway, I've got a flow here.
Go ahead.
Been interrupted. So
Sorry, my bad. Go ahead.
So it's not unlawful because it's God's command. Would it then be moral to obey God's command in that instance?
I'm sorry, you broke up. I didn't hear what you said.
All right. In the kill and baby and eat it scenario, would it be moral to obey God's command?
Sir, we don't have to worry about that because God's not going to command you to do something that goes against something
I'm not
else He said in the
saying he's
Bible.
going to.
God says not to murder, so I don't have to worry about that. See, crazy
But that's
people
irrelevant.
Here, hang on a second.
No, I don't want you to
Crazy
continue in
people
irrelevant strain.
say that they hear God tell them to kill and drown their babies. Does that make it moral? Does that make it right? No, because they're nuts. They have not read the Bible. They don't know what the Bible says. So again,
So you're saying it would be immoral to follow God's
shall
command in that
not
situation?
murder. Killing an unborn child or killing a born child and eating that child is murder by definition. God will never command us to do that. I
How is
don't
it murder
have
by
to answer a
definition?
hypothetical
Not
question
unlawful.
when I know the absolute answer because I have an absolute authority.
All right, so you would disobey. You would disobey God.
What definition of murder are you using?
The taking of an innocent life.
What? You're saying it's murder by definition. What
The
definition are you
taking of
using?
an innocent life. I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm lagging out or what, but the definition of murder is the taking of an innocent life.
All right, that's not the definition that I'm familiar with. Definition I'm familiar
What
with is
definition
unlawful
would you
killing.
like to use, sir?
Yeah, I don't think it really even
We keep
matters.
talking at the same time.
At this point, Jim, I think you're saying that you would disobey God, and this is what I'm hearing. If God commanded you to go out and kill and eat babies, you would. Well, I don't know if you would disobey or not.
I think he's saying he would deny that it's God.
He would deny it's God. Okay, that's
Sir,
possible.
God will never tell us to do something outside of His nature or outside of His
Right.
word that He has already revealed to us. Would you agree, sir, that the God of the Bible would have no problem revealing His divine commands to us? Since you brought up the
I don't know the mind of
theory
God.
or whatever it was.
Yeah, I don't know the mind of God. I don't subscribe to divine command.
I do. I know the mind of
I
God.
just think that his answer is kind of begging the question.
And you can know the mind of God too if you ever read your Bible.
Let me ask you another way of wording it. We had actually in live chat, and I will make it a simpler question, just for the argument. If God commanded you to go out and go get a tattoo, which is not illegal or moral or anything like that, in my worldview, anybody can get a tattoo. Would you go out and get a tattoo?
Well, sir, God doesn't give us individual commands like that. Can He lead us? Can He guide us? Absolutely. But God does not give us individual commands like that. Let me ask you, sir, you're talking about morality. How do you have any type of right or wrong? You already told me that your morality can change over time. So you're saying that the person looking on this event when somebody's eating a baby, that's wrong in your worldview today. So is that going to be wrong tomorrow or next week or next year?
Morals can change, but that doesn't mean that all morals can change, right? There is something that if I'm not mistaken.
Well, aren't your morals made up of matter?
Let me answer the question, please. There is something that I believe is called descriptive moral relativism, which kind of is the principle that morals do kind of depend on how society looks. And by the way, I'm getting a lot of background noise, so if I mute you, it's nothing personal.
Oh, that's me. Pardon me.
No, I think it's some, but that's okay. Excuse me. So for example, like in some cultures, it is immoral to show ankle. Well, here in the United States, showing ankle is not immoral, but culturally, somewhere else it is. That's something relative to. Oh, thank you for the super chat. Mo gave me a $20 super chat. Very, very nice of you. He says you asked and he cowardly dodged. Here's your 20. Thank you, kind sir. Most appreciated, actually. Feel free to ask more questions, and I don't need the donation. I mean, yeah, donations are great, but you don't have to donate to ask a question. So those kind of morals do change over time. Societal, things do change. Virtue ethics kind of change a little bit. I don't see any given situation where I think it would be appropriate for God to go out and tell somebody to go kill and eat babies, and I would refuse that. Now I will be open and honest. If you have a deity that I know is the deity telling somebody to do this, I don't know what I would do in that situation, for the fact that people do a lot of strange things when they're in fear, right? And it wouldn't be that you'd be doing it because God commanded. I would be doing it out of fear because of the consequences, right? And I am fully capable of understanding that humans do very deplorable, despicable things when they're under duress, right? And that would make God a moral monster, in my opinion. So I'm not saying what I would or would not do. I don't know in that situation. But if I did, it would be completely out of fear. It wouldn't be out of worship or anything like that. Does that make sense?
My question is this, sir. Why would it not be wrong in a year to kill? If society decided for some reason, some crazy reason, you say you can't see one, but let's say there is one. Let's say that there's some kind of situation that pops up that makes every person want to kill at least one child and eat it. Hey, that's perfectly okay. Would that make it right?
No, again, the ideal observer theory that I kind of been subscribing to.
Why would that not make it right?
Because
please let him finish.
Because according to the ideal observer theory, it states, and I'm going to pull it up right here. The main, and again, I hate philo speak, but this is kind of important. The main idea of ideal observer theory is that ethical terms should be defined in a pattern of the following example: X is better than Y. Meaning, if anyone were, in respect of X and Y, fully informed, with vivid imagination, impartial, in calm frame of mind, and otherwise normal, he would prefer X to Y. Given that definition, then I would prefer that you do not go out and eat babies and kill them, obviously because of social normatives. We have a compact in society that says babies should be protected. They should be nurtured. They're not a food source. And killing them is considered to be barbaric. I don't see how that would ever change, because again, X is better than Y. Not killing babies and not eating them is better than killing them and eating them for whatever reason. I can't think of a reason where it would be better to go out and just arbitrarily kill babies and eat them. So that's the position that I hold to, because that's what I consider to be moral. So I don't need a deity to tell me that is not moral. Or excuse me, is moral not to go out and kill. It is immoral to go out and kill babies. I don't think that's something I need.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. You say X is better than Y. So what is your basis for comparison, sir? In order to have a basis of comparison, you have to know that one thing is good, and that one thing gives you that basis for comparison. You've already told me that your morality can change over time, yet you don't see any reason why it would.
Again,
according to absolute morality, if you don't have an absolute lawgiver, then why would it not change to make it perfectly acceptable to kill and eat children? See, I have an absolute authority. God says no. God says no, murder is wrong because you're taking the life of an image bearer of God.
Okay,
we don't have to worry about God changing. Excuse me, we don't have to worry about God changing what He has told us in His revelation. The revealed word of God is closed. We don't have to worry about getting some new revelation, because it doesn't happen.
Jim, I can't answer the question if you just rapid fire question after question. If you ask me a question, you're going to have to allow me to answer it. If I start speaking to answer a question, I don't see the point of asking me another question in the middle of my response. You asked me what my reference is, which again is what I exactly said by the definition of ideal observer theory. It should be defined in reference, right? That's my word here, but in reference to, if anyone were, in respect X and Y, fully informed with vivid imagination, impartial, and calm frame of mind. That's the reference points that I'm starting back with, or otherwise normal. These, I think, are intuitive type situations. Yes, I admit that, but I don't believe there has to be an absolute frame of reference to which we do a comparative thing for morality. Now, I'm fine if someone does. Again, morality is not an easy concept. In fact, I've said with no uncertain terms, it probably is the most difficult concept for me to even wrap my head around sometimes, because morals deal with a lot of complex things. But If somebody has an absolute moral framework, that is absolutely fine. I'm not sure one that exists, and it doesn't really matter if one does or does not exist. To me, I'm able to make moral decisions without having to point to an absolute moral system, because I believe that I know right from wrong, and that right from wrong is something that I've known since I was, a child. Now, you want to use.
Sorry, I thought you were done.
If you want to use the Bible like that for your morals, that's fine. The problem, though, what we run into is that if you didn't have that book, then where would your moral system be? If you never had heard of the Bible did not exist, you then would have no ability to draw upon your own conscience to determine right from wrong, and that's a scary concept to me. That's called a sociopath in my worldview.
Well, sir, the problem with your mentality is that we all know right and wrong because God has put it on our heart. For it says in Romans chapter 1, starting around 20, for what can be known about God is plain to them because God has shown it to him. For his invisible attributes, namely his eternal power and divine nature, have clearly been perceived, clearly seen ever since the creation of the world in the things that are made.
Okay, but
that revelation is there for all people throughout all time. So that's why people that never heard the good news of the gospel have no excuse, because they know what's right and wrong. They know it's wrong to murder babies. That's why when God judges, he judges on the basis of knowledge.
You're literally begging the question.
God, just like the guy on the other side of the planet knows God. Now, my problem is if society makes the choice on what is moral, like you said earlier, that again, if it's the observer who makes the call on what is moral, then wait a minute. What if your next door neighbor and his observation is that it's good to kill and eat children, and your observation says it's not? Which one is correct?
Well, that is my question to you. If God you've done nothing but dodge the questions. Every one of your answers is either circular, begging the question, or dodging. You've actually not yet have directly answered a specific question of mine, and I want the panel to note this. In your moral framework,
and what your question would be, sir?
I don't think you can answer a direct question. My question was very simple. Again, if God, and this is called a hypothetical. If God, not if he would, not if he does, if he can or would, if he did tell you to do something under your divine command theory, you have to do it and think it's moral. That is the principle of divine command theory. If you subscribe to that, that is the consequence of that. You cannot.
Again, divine command theory comes from the Bible and God's word, not just simply arbitrary something in the mind.
Okay, I mean, I could get into the fact that I think that some of these things are arbitrary in God's mind. I mean, he subjectively has determined what has been considered moral or not. One day shellfish is moral, one day shellfish is not. These are subjective things to God. But
actually, no, that's a specific command, but we can go into that later.
Well, how about you just? I mean, I'll give you one more chance, and then we'll move on to another question, and then I want to get Tony more in here because this is supposed to be Tony's thing, and I will get to you, Tony. I love you, man. We can't forget about Tony. But I mean, if you want to give one more chance to answer the question, I want the live chat. We have 100 people watching, and obviously everybody in here. You guys can see for yourself. He won't answer this question. But if God did command you, right? Given the situation, if X, then Y. If God commanded you, would you do it? Now, you cannot reasonably answer that question as, oh, he would never ask that. That's not how you properly respond to a hypothetical. So I'm gonna give you one more chance to respond. Then I have another question. Then I'm gonna let Tony tag team for a little while I moderate. Is that cool, Tony?
Sure, that works.
You're a smart guy, Tony. You can handle this. Okay, go ahead. So
I hope so.
Once again, God will never command us to do something outside of his revealed word of what he declares to be wrong, to be a sin. So speaking hypothetically in that fashion, it doesn't make any sense. Again, according to my worldview, I have an absolute authority. I can know with absolute assurance that God has stated that this is wrong, and I don't have to deviate from that.
All right, so
God has put that law in our hearts. God has always put that in every single person's heart. They know it's wrong, just like I know it's wrong, just like you know it's wrong. But the problem is if an absolute moral lawgiver then your morality is situationally based.
All right.
That is, again, you can go from today, it might be wrong to kill and eat a 3-year-old child, but tomorrow it could be perfectly acceptable. You haven't even admitted that your morality changes based on what? And you don't know why it might change to make it this radical of a change. But you know what? That's what they said 30 years ago when homosexuality.
All right. So let me ask you another question here.
Place of being a perversion, and now it's acceptable in our society. Society doesn't make morality. Society perverts morality.
All right. I got to move on here, Jim. So we can all see he can't answer this question. A complete dodge. Does anybody want to say that he didn't dodge the question? Speak now. If not, I'm just going to assume that he did. Do you all think that he dodged it? Does anybody not think that he did dodge it? I mean, go and weigh in real quick. Then I want to answer.
I don't think he can. I don't think he intentionally dodged the question. I think I think he feel. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he did indeed in practice dodge the question. I think he's getting around. He's just not willing to imagine the idea that maybe a God might order somebody to do something evil, which we'll talk about when I get my.
Oh, I love that kind of approach. Sure. Absolutely. So I have one more question to ask Jim. So Jim, in my moral framework, I think it is completely inappropriate to tell a child victim of sexual assault that it is God's will. Now, in your moral view, you think it's perfectly fine to tell a child that has been a victim of sexual assault that it is God's will because you have actually done this, which I find to be morally reprehensible. I think it's absolutely disgusting for the fact that even hypothetically, because I can do a hypothetical, even if that was true, to telling that to a child is an immoral act because a child is not capable of understanding these types of concepts. It is psychologically damaging to them. And I find it to be beyond disgusting. And I think anybody who does that is a disgusting human being in my moral system. Now, before we do that real quick, Jade, can you do a quick mic check? I know you wanted to, and I forgot. Darth Freddy.
Yeah.
Okay, you sound good. I think.
Okay,
cut out or
that's all I wanted to know.
yeah, we can hear it. All right, so yep, we can hear it. So Jim, go ahead and answer that question. Why is it morally acceptable to tell a child that has been a victim of sexual assault that it was just God's will, doing more psychological damage to them? What morality system allows for that? That God is going to psychologically damage a child?
Well, sir, I don't know where you came up that I said that, but I never did.
Oh,
would I tell a child or any other person that there's two types of God's will? There's God's prescriptive will, and there is his permissive will. Scribe
I want to make sure
those Islamic people to fly a plane into the Twin Towers, but God permitted that. And the same happened to that poor child that I spoke with. I told her
I want to make sure
that God did not prescribe that to happen, but it was allowed to happen because that person exercised their free will to commit evil against an innocent child.
Okay, so I want to get this very, very clear. You're not denying, because you just said, what situation, and now you just said that you did have a child in your care, because before a second ago you said what situation. I wanted to know if you were going to deny it. You've now said that there was a child in your care. By the way, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not doxing you. This is public information. You are a school bus monitor. You basically, kids get off onto the bus and you make sure they're safe, right?
Former.
Okay, so they're entrusted to your care. And as a caregiver in that regard, whether you're competent enough to do that, obviously I do not think you are, you have to tell a child this. You have told a child that it is God's will because somebody exercised their free will to a child that has been sexually assaulted. Is that correct?
No, sir. That's not what I said.
Please.
What I said is when this child came to me expressing what had happened, I told her that we will never know for sure exactly why things happen, but God has a permissive will. God's never out of control. That's exactly what I told her. God's never out of control. But guess what? Sometimes God allows bad things to happen to good people, and we may never know exactly why. But I also told her that because God loves her, allow herself to forgive that perpetrator, that she can allow herself to move on with her life, because the love of God will allow something like that. She doesn't have to carry guilt because she did nothing wrong.
So I want to make sure. So God is in control of everything. He permissively allowed this to happen to a child because somebody exercised their free will. And you think a child is going to understand these types of concepts, even if this hypothetically is true.
Every child, but some children are old enough to understand, and this young lady happened to be.
As a former rape victim, I have to say that appalls me that that's the direction he wants to go with that.
I think it appalls.
Well, maybe
I've heard people say it
in your life.
Yeah, Michael, I think it actually shocks the senses of any rational human being that has a moral system, which I don't think he does. This is the moral system that he has.
And this coming from somebody whose morality can change from day to day? I have a static morality, sir. It's always wrong to rape. Will it be wrong to rape in your worldview tomorrow?
You're actually your position that it's always wrong to not follow the word of God. And if God commanded you to go rape, you would be obligated to go rape. That is your position.
No, sir. God will never command you to commit a sin.
He would or would not.
Does God want us to go out as believers? And this is what I'm talking from the believer standpoint. Would God want a believer to go out and do something that violates the law of God? That would be illogical, wouldn't it?
All right, so
and
real quick,
God's attributes are logical, I can guarantee you that God will not want to do that.
All right, so real quick, and I'll turn it over to Tony because I want to get Tony in here. So I want everybody listening, well over 100 people watching, thousands of people are going to watch this eventually. So I want to make sure that I'm very clear on this. In my moral system, I think it is reprehensible to ever tell a child that the reason they were raped is because somebody was exercising their free will, and that God allows these things to happen because God is in control, but he has a plan. And that's what you did say. How you're kind of twisting a little bit really doesn't make much difference. How you wrote it is still reprehensible to me. But you did say before that it was, God's plan, and there was a reason for all this stuff, which I think is beyond morally reprehensible, because I have something called a conscience. I have a moral framework. Whether I can.
So has your conscience ever changed?
One second. Even though it's very difficult for me to put my framework in a moral linguistic thing, because philosophy is very complicated on this, I do understand principles, and I think in principle it is never okay to tell a child something like that. I think that, in my opinion, that is immoral.
In principle, will your morality ever change?
Now we're comparing moral systems, so I want everybody listening. You look at my moral system, and you look at Jim's, and you decide for yourself which moral system you think is moral.
Well, okay. Sir, will your morality ever change?
Yes, morality does change. Sure.
There you go. Thank you very much.
Moral today could be a moral, but not everything. There are certain things that I think are pretty well.
Wait a minute. Why would one part of your morality not change and other parts change? Is it basically what you choose to change?
No, for the third time, and then I'm going to turn over to Tony. Ideal observer theory compares.
Ideal observer, but you're the observer, so it's up to you, right?
No. Oh, I am not the observer.
You're the observer. You are the observer. You're the arbiter of truth. You're the arbiter of your morality. So you are the one that decides what's moral. Is that correct?
No. Once again, for the fourth time.
Oh, is morality the way we evolve then? Do we just evolve with morality?
Jim, you cannot ask me a question. When I'm starting to answer, then ask me another one. Once again, the immoral observer theory is a impartial, vivid imagination.
Yes, sir. You've given the definition of it a number of times. But that can change, right? That can change. That can change, right?
I would no.
Please let him answer the question.
So you have absolute morality. Where does absolute morality come from, sir?
Okay, Tony. Will I be able to answer the question, or he's going to continue to interrupt me?
Where does absolute morality come from, sir? You said it couldn't change. You said you had absolute morality. You said your morality wouldn't change. How do you get absolute morality from molecules of motion, sir?
All right. Well, we're going on to a subject of absolute morality, and I don't think, Steve, are you arguing for absolute morality?
No, sir.
I know he's not. That's why I'm pointing out. I have absolute morality. And he does not. His morality could change. Where it would be okay to eat children tomorrow. It might be okay to rape tomorrow. He says it won't. But why? Why won't it?
Can I finish my sentence? Can you moderate, please? If you have to mute him or whatever, because I'd like to finish my sentence. I do not think it's ever going to be permissible to go out and kill and eat babies. I do not see a time that would ever be something that
you gave me this reason.
You interrupted me again.
Oh wow! I have the ability to mute people. I'm sorry. I didn't realize I had that ability.
You are temporarily God in here.
I didn't know that. Sorry. Okay. Sorry, Chris. You've been muted until he finishes his answer.
So again, in ideal observer theory, I am not the ideal observer. The ideal observer is a hypothetical person that is in calm frame of mind and otherwise normal, with a vivid imagination and impartial. I don't think I could fully be impartial. We all have some kind of cognitive biases, but you have to be able to step out of that and put yourself at some kind of.
So, in your idea, the ideal observer is God.
No.
Then
No.
how do you have anything that's absolute? And how do you know
I'm not arguing
anything
absolute morality. You're arguing absolute morality. Well, you don't take your
Yes, sir.
argument.
I am arguing absolute morality. And you're telling me that you believe that this is absolutely wrong to rape a child and kill a child and eat a child, but you have no reason for believing that. And you've even told me your morality can change over time. Why would
So
your
again,
morality
Okay, hold
change
on
over
a second.
time and stay static
Gentlemen,
in one area?
Hey, just a second. Steve, did you literally say that anything was absolutely wrong?
No, I do not know if there's absolute morality or not. There could be.
So-
I don't particularly think so at the moment.
So
But
you
I'm not
didn't
just
say
saying
that it was something was absolutely wrong. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. I'm not. That is
Well,
not my
he
argument.
can't say that anything is absolutely wrong because he has no basis in fact for absolute authority. I mean, the way to look at this is if you evolve that way, Steve, maybe that's the way you're thinking. That's the chemical reaction in your brain. What about the next guy down the street and his chemical reaction says it's perfectly okay to rape and eat and kill children?
I don't.
Why would one of them be wrong
ahead,
and one of them be right?
I don't know how much clearer.
Go
I can
ahead,
make.
Steve.
Thank you, sir. I cannot know how much more clearer to make to Jim. I do not think it's ever permissible at this time to ever kill and rape babies or eat them or whatever.
Oh, well, I understand you think that.
Jim, if you interrupt me one more
What is your
time,
basis for thinking that? You can tell me you think it all day, but what is your basis?
all right, Jim, you're going to be hidden from broadcast while and yes, you can hide him from broadcast as well. You have absolute authority in here, but until he let me finish my speaking, I'm not going to be interrupted every 5 seconds. I've let him speak. I am not arguing for objective morality. So your arguments for objective morality have nothing to do with me. So I would appreciate if you stop leveling your particular positions onto myself. I've said, I do not think of there any situation which I can imagine where it'd be okay to go out and kill and eat babies. I think that if God commanded that, he'd be a moral monster. I would not follow that, except, again, I have noted, because I'm a fair-minded person, that people do strange things out of fear. So there might be a time that I would do it, but it would be out of fear and distress rather than wanting to worship a moral monster, which is your position. Because if God commands you to do this, if not whether he would or not, if he does, you would be obligated to go do it, and you would be thinking it's moral. So I'm going to show you back in broadcast. I'm going to give you 1 minute.
Okay, I think we
Tony.
with succinct answers here, but
Yeah.
okay, go ahead, Christian.
So I'm going to move on here. Jim, you have 30 seconds. I'm timing you now, and then Tony's going to take. I'll moderate between you two. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. The problem with your mentality, sir, is you have no basis in fact for thinking that your morality won't be diametrically opposed to what it is exactly today, and it might happen tomorrow. Because by your own mentality, you evolved to think that way. You evolved to think that it's wrong to kill and eat and rape a child. But what if your next door neighbor or the guy on the other side of the planet evolved differently? To think it's perfectly okay to rape and eat children whenever they feel like it. You've got no basis for saying one is right and one is wrong. Without absolute authority, you have no basis for saying that is wrong and that is right. Now, you even said it yourself that this part of your morality will not change, but others will. Why? Why would one part change and one part won't? You have no basis. You are actually denying the God that you know, just like it says in Romans, and yet you live like you know God.
Okay, Jade, yeah, he understood nothing of what I said, nothing at all. So, Jade, you would like to talk about this for a second? Then I really do need to get to Tony.
Yeah, just very quickly.
Sure, absolutely.
Yes, we are part of a social species. We have evolved to be part of a social species, and we have certain instincts that come along with this social species, and these instincts are being studied at the baby lab at Cornell. If anyone wants to look up baby lab Cornell, as babies, we have these instincts that tell us not to hurt others. So this is just part of our makeup. Now, you can say that this is strictly part of our makeup because of evolutionary processes, or you can say this is strictly part of our makeup because God designed it that way. But either way, born with these instincts. Now, sometimes these instincts get subverted by circumstance. Other times there is a very tiny of the population who are psychopaths. Now, there is a larger percentage of the population who are sociopaths, but most sociopaths are functional. Learn that injuring people is wrong because not the best way to put that, but I think you understand what I mean. They learn how to fit in with society. This is just as human beings, whether you want to say it gave us these instincts or set in a system that way, or you want to take a strictly secular view and say that this is the result of evolving as a social species, because any psychopath, any outlier would simply not survive. So I do believe there is a kind of objective morality, just looking at it from a strictly secular point of view. And I'm not, I am a Christian, although Hillbilly wouldn't think me one. That from a strictly secular, we do have these instincts. So there is a sort of objective morality from these instincts that are not to hurt others. But also at the same time, we have the instincts to be part of our own group, to favor our own group. In other words, our own tribe over other tribes. So we have these conflicting instincts, which is hardly unusual because have certain conflicting elements to them. There aren't any really absolute morals. God may have absolute morals, do not, because we're not God. We're fallible from a Christian point of view, or at least my Christian point of view. Interpret what God told us. And because of that, we are fallible and our interpretations are subjective. Therefore, our morality, at least the application, is subjective. I'm done.
Yeah, thank you. And real quick, I'm going to ask everybody who's watching this, because we have a huge amount of people watching. After this video uploads, I would very much like to ask everybody to put their comments in the comment, below in the video description. After it uploads, it takes about 45 minutes. I'm going to be just showing real quick some of the comments we have so far, because I think they're appropriate to this. And unfortunately, I got to find the right size. Can you guys see this in the outside feed? So this is what people are just basically saying. And I want Tony to join in. I've asked, who has a more moral system, and obviously, I think overwhelmingly that they think Jim does not. They think he's a sociopath. I have to tend to agree. I think that anybody that has to use a very narrow point of view, that they have to have a Bible or something to have a moral framework, is probably trying to fit.
So now your morality is determined by consensus?
Probably to fit into society, because I think as a societal whole, we all have an understanding. We all have a compact to say these things are wrong. We kind of have a compact with each other to say we don't.
Why are they wrong in your worldview?
We don't steal from each other. We don't kill each other. We find these things to be unproductive to having a society that's functional. Again, I think that we obviously have instilled things from our parents. We have things through evolution, but I don't think we can have a functional society if everybody went out killing, raping, and pillaging everybody. It wouldn't be conducive to having a society that's flowering and growing. Anyways, so here's kind of the chat. I just want to show it real quick and get it on record if you guys want to go through it. But anyways, Tony, I'm going to go ahead and one more thing. Okay,
okay, I was just go ahead. Yeah. One thing about what you said there. When you think about children stealing from their parents, well, our whole growing up, better term for that, I know, but the point of us growing up is to learn the word no. We have to learn the strictures of our society, and as children we naturally try to push those boundaries to find out where they are. Stealing from your parents, lying to your parents, and then hitting another kid, throwing toys, whatever. These are just simply natural parts of growing up. This is not because we're evil or we're bad or anything like that. This is just learning to be a part of whichever society we are in. I read an article a long time ago about this particular Native American tribe where the one man was talking to others around the fireside, and his son came up behind him and whacked him with a stick. Society, we would think, oh my goodness, that's terribly horrible. It's horrible. We must In this particular society, however, the father praised his son for being clever enough. So there are differences because different societies have different rules. Look at Japan. Look at feudal Japan, for example. Look at feudal Europe. So different societies do have different standards, and sometimes these are just simply a part of survival. So the child is gifted with these instincts, and part of these instincts are to push the boundaries so that you find out where the boundaries are and that you can work within that particular society.
I
Isn't that great?
completely agree with that.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Jade. All right. So Tony, would you like to engage with Jim here and kind of compare your moral system to his or something, or whatever you want to do?
I don't know if I really want to compare moral systems. I live a fairly monastic lifestyle to begin with. So that said, I would like to make sure that Jim understands, or at least I would like to see what Jim's appreciation of the fact that, let's just say that I live a monastic lifestyle. I don't really do a lot. I'm not a fun guy. I'm a really boring person by most people's standards.
What is monastic? I'm just a hillbilly from Kentucky. What is monastic?
I don't go out. I don't have a lot of, I don't party or anything like that. I'm not out being overtly promiscuous. My thing, I wouldn't, I don't have anything against it. It's just not me. So, as far as that, the fact I have my morals, and wherever I get them, is it okay that, do you at least appreciate that wherever I get my morals, thankfully I have those morals?
And by the way,
sir, I know where you get your morals. I'm sorry, Steve. I thought Tony and I were talking now.
Yeah, I just want, for clarity's sake, because you asked, you know what a monastery is? Monastery is where they have, monastic refers to that.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Like a monk type thing. In other words, he needs to get a chick. So if you guys are, if you any single women out there,
no, for some reason
let me know. I got his email and contact information.
I know a couple good ladies at my church, Tony.
There you go, Tony. And by the way, if you do hook up with somebody, the only thing I ask is your first child, his name's Steve. That's it. That's nothing big deal.
Well, that'll take a lot of work. I got my.
I'll get you. I'll find you. I'll find you a good one. Trust me. Okay, so go ahead.
That would be a very awkwardly named girl.
But yes, Tony, I do appreciate that you have morality. The fact that you have morality is not a surprise to me, a Christian, because it fits right in with my Christian worldview. Because just what it says, what I quoted earlier in Romans 1, starting at 20, for what can be known about God is plain to them because God has shown it to them. So God has etched his law on your heart. That's why you know that it's wrong to kill and eat children, just like Steve knows that it's wrong to kill and eat children.
You're reading Romans 1 wrong. Romans says nothing other than the people it's directed to, which are the Romans. Effectively, it's Paul writing to the church.
Romans 1:18, for the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men.
This is Paul writing.
Does all mean all?
People writing to Paul.
Does all mean all?
Okay, so as I was saying before you interrupted me, that Romans 1.
We've had this discussion before, and Tony and I are talking. Do you mind bowing out for a second, sir? Thank you very much. Been waiting to talk with Tony, so thank you very much for waiting.
Well, you're still reading it wrong.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, we'll table this.
You can believe that. You'd be wrong, but you can believe that. Tony and I
You're
are
a great moderator.
Be silent.
All right, we're going to table that real quick. I do agree with Cliff. And matter of fact, Dr. Kenny Rhodes.
Go ahead, Jim. Go ahead, Jim.
Agrees with.
I do want to hear what you have to say.
He does agree with Cliff as well. We'll have that discussion another time, but that's kind of irrelevant to this discussion, Cliff. I agree with you wholeheartedly. You're absolutely right. But let's let Tony and him kind of finish their kind of discussion real quick. Go ahead.
Thank you. Again, just like it says in Romans, for the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men. What does all mean? All means all. Who by their unrighteousness suppress the truth. What is truth? See, you got to understand what the truth is. The truth that God is, and that God is the absolute moral lawgiver. So that's where I stand on it. Thank you.
So, okay, well, I appreciate that you appreciate that I have immorality. So the questions I was going to ask you some hypothetical questions. So I'm going to try a different hypothetical question with you. If you were Abraham, now we already know how this story is going to end, right? It's Abraham being told to kill his son Isaac. Now, if you were Abraham and God told you to murder your son, and you, I mean, you don't know for sure that he's going to stop you at the last minute. What is your feeling on it? Would you go ahead and try to murder your son? Because you don't know how the story is going to end. You know that you've been told to murder your son, but you don't know that it's going to end with God saying, no, you don't have to do that. It's all right. Don't worry about it. Would you go ahead and follow that order or not?
Well, sir, I don't even pretend to have an ounce of the faith that Abraham had. I'll also tell you that God spoke directly to Abraham, which he doesn't do today to people. So I don't have to worry about that either. But God did not order Abraham to murder his son. That's not what was said. So God does not order people to murder other people. That goes against the law of God, and God will never tell us to violate the law of God.
Did you what about Josephus?
No, hold on, guys. Hold on. I will admit the word murder I'm going to use your definition of murder. I'll just say, yeah, you're right. He didn't, I mean, whatever. I'm sure Isaac did something wrong.
I think that murder would actually apply there because his definition of murder is killing an innocent person rather than unlawful killing, which is what everybody else's definition is. So when Isaac's son is innocent...
Sorry, I prefer to meet people on their own terms.
Or God commands to kill Abraham's son. Abraham's son is innocent. That would be murder, according to Christian Hillbilly. So God did command a murder.
Well, sir, I can speak for myself. So if you want to speak for me, why don't you go ahead and take the moniker Christian Hillbilly and you can move on. But until then, let Tony and I have a conversation. Thank you very much.
I'm saying what you said earlier.
Yes, sir. I said murder is the taking of an innocent life. Do you know?
Right.
Isaac
so Abraham, God did command the murder.
Do you know, sir, that he ever disrespected his father? Do you know if he ever told a lie? Do you know if he ever stole anything? No, you don't know any of those things. As a matter of fact, I do know that all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Abraham,
so what about Jephthah's daughter?
That killing a 5-year-old would be different than killing a baby. So if God commands
killing a 5-year-old, have a conversation. Is there a way to mute these people so you and I can talk?
Let them talk.
No, I think we just found a loophole here because if no lives are innocent after they've told a lie, then as soon as like a 5-year-old figures out that he can be dishonest, then that child is no longer innocent, and killing them is something that God can command.
Actually, Ocean,
that's actually learned a little bit earlier. When an infant learns if they cry enough, they'll get anything they want.
Yeah.
No, it goes even further than that. If you think about it, original sin, we're all fallen. So therefore, it's impossible to kill anybody innocent.
I don't know if Hillbilly actually
define original sin.
I don't want to go down. I do not want to go down the rabbit hole of original sin. I just want to move on.
Why don't you want to go down this rabbit hole, Steve? It's like directly in line with your question. That's totally the basis of this whole hangout.
Tony, I really was kind of hoping you nailed it.
I don't know if he believes in original sin. If he doesn't, then fine. But
Ocean, you have 5 things hanging out already, and I think the point is that God did command somebody to go out and commit murder. The guy just didn't follow through with it. I don't know how anybody can see it any other way. Was that what you're arguing, Ocean?
No.
He did command somebody.
That's not what I'm arguing at all.
he did command Abraham to kill his son. That was a command. And that would have been that.
Right. If Jim is going to say that murder is the taking of an innocent life, he's now saying that Isaac was not innocent. So,
in which case it would have been not murder. It would have been
right. So it wouldn't have been murder at that point.
Okay, fine.
So the only way for it to be murder is if you're killing like a baby.
Okay.
So there's like if I go and kill someone that is an adult, there's no way it can be murder. According to Jim.
That would be wrong, but that would be your worldview, so don't get around me.
No, that's your worldview, dude. Oh, wait, hold on a second. Are you saying then that there are innocent lives that are adults?
Sir, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Does that mean that you have the right to take that life?
Therefore no longer innocent?
No, sir, it does not. Sir, do you want the answer or not? Do you want the answer or not?
I'm trying to make sure.
Do you want the answer or not? Thank you.
You're going to say that we can't kill babies because they're innocent.
No empowerment to mute anybody in here.
if you're going to say that we can't kill babies because they're innocent, but then Isaac wasn't innocent because he sinned before, then that means that
Sure, I have the power to mute him on my side. I don't have to listen to that crap. Come on.
No,
you want to have a conversation? Tony, you and I, let's have a conversation.
One sec, moderator time.
No one is innocent. Anybody can be killed.
Thank you. 1 second. You have the power. You don't have the authority. Understand the difference? Probably not. Do not mute people.
Oh, yes, sir. I know exactly what authority is because I have an absolute authority. Do you know what an absolute authority is,
sir? You don't have authority in here. So God has given you the power to mute people in here? Interesting.
God has given me the ability to mute people I don't want to listen to in here, so I'm not listening to Ocean. I wanted to have a conversation with you. What we're going to do is Tony.
I have more power than your God right now because I just hid you from broadcast. So I am more powerful than your fucking deity. Enjoy.
The problem Hillbilly has got is that he really didn't. He saw the corner that he'd been painted into, and then had a little hissy fit about it.
Oh, absolutely. So, Ocean, real quick, unmute yourself. Please feel free to carry on your dialogue until I'll bring Jim back, because I have just demonstrated I am more powerful than his God.
Well, I was trying to understand his definitions, because he said that murder earlier is the killing of an innocent life. That's the reason. That was his main counter to the whole baby thing, right? So, before that, or after that, he's now said that when Abraham goes to sacrifice Isaac, I believe it's Isaac anyway, that Isaac wasn't innocent because Isaac probably had told a lie at some point and was an imperfect being. Therefore, no adult that exists today is innocent. And if murder is the taking of an innocent life, then there is no way that one can commit murder when killing an adult. So no killing of an adult is murder, according to Jim's definition.
Okay.
Well, it's worse than that. He can't even justify morality at all, because as far as Christian
Hillbilly, can we continue our conversation?
I think that we can say pretty solidly that Christian Hillbilly believed that the killing of anybody above the age of 10 would not be murder, because none of them are innocent.
Is Tony like your safety valve, Jim? What the heck's going on? I mean,
I actually want to truthfully engage.
I agreed to have a conversation with him. He agreed to have a conversation with me.
Yeah, I want everybody to.
I'm debating not everybody else in the room since I'm the only believer in here.
No, but he won't come back at my
incorrect.
With one purpose, and that was
somebody already said they were.
I've had my conversation with Steve. I'd like to have my conversation with Tony now.
So everybody's going to mute. Everybody's going to mute. Everybody's going to mute. I'm muting everybody.
Including Jake.
Yep, everybody's muting. Tony, it is for the next 5 minutes. The only two voices I want to hear are your two and myself, because I'm God in here right now, because I took it back from you there, Tony. You were God, but you lost your God. Sorry, Ocean. I want to hear them too. I know Ocean's like frothing in the mouth right now, but Jim has a point. I engage with Jim, and Tony Reed is my guest here. I think it is only appropriate to have him engage with Jim if he wants to. So go ahead.
Well, I think Jim's actually answered my question about Abraham and Isaac. So I want to take it up a step further, and that is with the question: if you were Saul, not Saul meaning Paul, Saul Tarsus, but I mean Saul in First Sam, in Sam 15:2-3, where Saul is ordered to slay every. Hold on, what's the word? Sorry. Amalek, and utterly destroy all they have, spare them not, slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and ass. That was including children, I believe. So now I'm getting back to the question that Steve was asking you. This is not something I would ask you normally. If we were to meet on the street, we'd have a much different conversation. But when God ordered to kill those children, was that righteous or was that evil?
Well, sir, when God orders something like that, when he ordered the Amalekites, and there was a few other times he ordered what you all might classify as genocide, the wiping out of a particular people group, done as a righteous judgment against that people group, because of what they had done, not only to God's chosen people, the nation of Israel, but also what they had done in violating the law of God. That was a righteous judgment levied against a specific people of a specific time. Those things don't happen anymore. Those were part of Scripture to remind us that sin equals death. Sin equals the shedding of blood. And that because God is completely righteous and holy, he has the authority to send us all to hell right now if he so chose to do so. But he offers salvation through Jesus Christ alone.
Steve, was your question answered in that?
You know, I'm not gonna lie, I was engaged in something else, so I didn't hear what he said.
You're like the worst moderator ever.
I'm horrible. I suck at this. You think after all these years I'd get this down, but no, I had something else to attend to, unfortunately. If he wants to just
you're gonna have to wait till it's back up on the air, I guess.
Can you give me a timestamp? No.
Can I ask you this, Tony? Can I ask you this? Is our morality simply a product of evolution, sir?
I don't know.
You want to ask
me? So what is the source of morality in your worldview, sir? What do you think is the source of morality?
Well, the short answer is I don't know. Do you want a more detailed answer or what?
Well, I understand that position because in your worldview, you can't know. You can't have an absolute basis for anything, let alone an absolute authority or an absolute morality, because everything would be fluid based on your particular situation. It's called situational ethics.
Yeah, and
Jim, I will hold on, please, Steve. I got to say this.
Absolutely,
Jim. I will listen to everything you have to say, everything you believe. But what I will not suffer is you telling me and or can't do what I do or don't think. So if you have an opinion on what I believe, or if you have questions about it, please ask. But please don't ever what I believe or what I can or can't do.
Well, sir, I'm not saying that from my own cognition. I'm not clairvoyant in any fashion or form. I'm just saying what the Bible says.
I know.
And I'm not expressing my opinion because I don't want to be a fool. Because in Proverbs 18:2, it says, a fool takes no pleasure in understanding, but only in expressing his opinion. I'm not about that. I'm about expressing the truth of God's word. The fact that you know what is right and what is wrong and where morality comes from, because God has etched it on your heart the way he has on everybody's heart. That's why God sends people to hell, not for sinning against a God that they don't know, but for sinning against the God that they do know.
Well, I got to ask you, Jim, I think you watched at least one of my episodes, right?
I watched part of one. It wasn't really that entertaining.
Well, okay, yeah, I'm not the most interesting guy in the world. I'll give you that. But
fallacies, that's really, why it wasn't entertaining.
You what?
It was full of fallacies.
Well, that'd be a fun conversation to have.
Yeah, that might be next time.
Let's talk about evolution if you like. It's one of my favorite subjects. I love science.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I got it. But the point I was getting at, did you so you got the feeling from my videos that I don't delight in understanding? Is that what I'm getting?
I'm saying from looking at your videos,
you're not calling
Romans 1:21 comes to mind. And that would be, for although they knew God, they did not honor him as God or give thanks to him, but they became futile in their thinking, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Claiming to be wise, they became fools. And that's what
your
video
where the sentence ends.
You're a fool.
That's not where the sentence ends.
You're a fool. You're a fool in not the abusive kind of name-calling way. You're a fool in that you know the truth. You know that there's a creator God, and yet you suppress that truth in unrighteousness.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and read the whole quote here, because you misquoted the Bible. What really bothers me is that is the source of morality you give, and yet why do you quote mine it? And this is the great, here it is. Although they claimed to be wise, they became fools and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like a mortal human being. And hey, I let you talk for like 5 minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought I was muted. Sorry.
Fuck, show me the same respect. Although they claimed to be wise, they became fools and exchanged the glory of the immortal God, and my phone died, for images made to look like mortal human beings and birds and animals and reptiles. So you didn't even finish the sentence. Okay, number one, scientists do not make any claims to wisdom. At best, they make a claim to knowledge, but claim intelligence, but none of them talk about wisdom. Second, worship any image made to look like any mortal man are Christians who praise Jesus. And then as far as I'm aware, worshiping any birds, animals, or reptiles. So I find it weird that you quote that, but you don't quote the entire thing. This is one of the things that scientists, and I'll use your word, evolutionists, have a problem with creationists in that they do what's called quote mining. You actually quote mine your own holy scripture to make it say something it's not saying.
Well, actually, I was trying to be more concise, but I'm sorry. You kind of lagged out there for a second. Were you done?
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done.
Oh, I'm sorry, because again, you're on. I think you're on a cellular network. I am too. So again, it kind of lags out every now and again. But sir, I was just trying to be more concise. If you want me to read all of Romans, I'll be happy to do it right here, right now.
I'm sure you will.
But again, what it says is what it says. For although they knew God, you know God, you don't honor God or give thanks to Him, and because of that, your thinking has become darkened.
Hold on. That you don't know that at all. You don't know anything about my religious
beliefs. You
beliefs.
deny God. You deny the Creator.
Can you ever cite me saying any such a thing?
Do you believe that evolution is how we got here?
That is none of your business. What I asked
well,
was,
sir, that's what your channel is all about, isn't it?
My channel is about disproving creationist arguments, not even disproving creationism.
Okay, so you're disproving the fact that God created.
I don't think that's what he said there, Jim.
So you're trying to disprove the fact that God created.
That's not what he said at all.
I have no intention of doing that.
Okay, then what do you believe?
I've watched most of his videos. That's nothing he's ever said. He just said that his channel, which
do you believe in evolution or not?
Let me finish my sentence, please. His channel is what my channel I wish would have been when I started this, because that was my goal. Although he did a much better job than I ever could, so I'm glad he took that little niche. But his channel is showing that young Earth creationist arguments are bad, which again, how my channel kind of started as well. He just had a very visual way of doing that. He wasn't ever trying to disprove God that I've ever seen in any of his videos.
I could.
So do you believe in evolution, Tony?
I haven't seen that per se.
What's that?
Do you believe in evolution is how we got here or not, Tony?
I don't believe anything. I accept
what do you claim that science tells you, sir?
Hey, I let you talk for 20 minutes. You can sure as hell listen to me for 5 seconds.
What do you believe about our origin story? How do we get here?
I insist you let me answer. I don't believe anything. I accept that evolution is the best explanation on the table for the variety of life, but that does in no way doesn't in any way indicate that I have no belief in God. If God created life and it evolved from there, either way, explanation, and it makes more predictions, and it has more physical applications that we can use in our daily life than just creationism.
That's a good one. What applications?
Real quick, if I may, Tony, let me get you back. Hang on one sec, Tony. If I could get you back on path for a second, Tony. Let me kind of shore up your argument there a little bit, because what you said was, in my opinion, really poor. We all have beliefs. I think people need to stop saying they don't have beliefs, because what a belief is an opinion on a proposition, whether it's true or false. When an atheist says they don't have beliefs, they're doing the same problem that a theist is having in their argument. They're just having a bad argument. You have a beliefs because you can't have knowledge without beliefs, right? Knowledge is a subset of belief. So if you say you have no beliefs, you say you have no knowledge. And I know you know things. So I would avoid saying things like I have no belief in evolution. Of course you believe in evolution. Anybody who has any kind of a scientific background that understands these things believes in evolution. It does happen. It's a fact of life. We know these things happen. You can state it like that. Don't buy it. Don't play into Jim's hand by changing what these words mean. like belief for for a proposition just because you're scared of that word. Trust me on this, Tony. So you do. I think you do believe in evolution. Do you want to kind of reformulate your argument on that?
The problem is that going into evolution is derailing from the subject of morality.
I agree with you, Cliff. But let Tony address that real quick. We all kind of like shore up each other's arguments. So, Tony, what I make sense? I mean, what I say made sense? That there's nothing wrong with saying I believe in evolution. Of course we do. We know evolution's true.
I would say that I am convinced, but tentatively. I mean, I'm willing to look at any repeatable evidence, anything that we can see that shows that creation is true. But thus far, as my series shows, I haven't found any.
But Tony,
well, go ahead.
I just said we're all provisional. Everything I hold is provisional, but you still believe evolution is the best explanation for observations, right? Do you not? I mean, I think if you
yes, it's okay. It's definitely a very, very useful theory. And if Jim wants to have a conversation about the physical application, the real world applications of evolutionism. I don't know if that I don't know if we have a lot of time in this one, but I'd be glad to come back.
Well, let me just ask you a question.
Debate. Why don't we do a debate about whose theory? I don't know if you're going to call it creationism a theory, but if you want to go ahead, do a debate in the future where you present applications of creationism. I'll present the real world applications of evolution or evolutionism as you define it, not as I define it.
Well, why would I want to define your terms for you, sir? If you're the one that believes it, you define.
All right, that's not an answering the question.
That's good. So I think that's a yes.
Is that a yes, Jim? That you're debating on what he said?
I have no problem debating on anything, anytime, anywhere. But the problem with evolution, the problem with this mentality,
we're not going to go into.
If all we are, visit that next time.
Yeah, that's next time. Hold on a second. No, that's not holding on. Not holding on. We're not going to derail it any further. That's next time. Save your arguments for evolution. So, Ocean, I'm going to let you, because you've been really patient, and I know you froth at the mouth. Tony, can we let Ocean kind of like engage him for a few minutes? Is that okay?
Of course, yeah.
All right.
I'm a guess.
I mean, we all love listening to Ocean. I almost got that out, but that's okay. I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Ocean. I promised you. I keep my promise. You go ahead. It is
I don't necessarily need 10 minutes. I just wanted to answer what my objection was earlier about murder. Sure. If he says that murder is the taking of innocent life, and then he denies that anybody that's like above the age of I don't know, what would we say? Let's just say like a 5-year-old child. I think we can all agree that people figure out how to lie by the time they're 5. If none of those people are innocent, is it possible to murder an adult? Like, is that possible?
Jim, if you're talking, nobody can hear you.
I think he has me turned down.
Oh, I wasn't talking. I was waiting for somebody to speak.
Yeah, see.
Can you not hear?
Just turned off my audio. That's what happened.
Nope, I muted him. Told you I did.
How'd you mute him? He's unmuted right now.
He went into the toolbox.
I can't hear him
on my audio,
and I don't want to hear him.
I don't
mind talking to somebody. I came in here to talk to you and Tony, and then I don't mind talking to other people that want to be respectful. But no, if they want to be disrespectful to me, I don't need to put up with that.
You don't have to engage with anybody you don't want.
I don't think I was disrespectful to him.
You weren't disrespectful to him, Ocean.
If I was disrespectful, I could say things that were disrespectful to him. But
I'm sure you can. But I mean, he doesn't have. He has a right not to engage with who he doesn't want to engage with. I can't force him to engage.
He's doing the debate equivalent of sticking his thumb in his ear.
Correct. He's doing the debate equivalent of sticking his thumb in his ear. He's basically pulling a Darwin's deity right now, going, "Oh, well, you're a troll because I don't want to face your arguments."
I think the problem is that I make a solid point there.
Believe what you like.
Oh, am I back to being heard by him?
I think it's selective hearing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead and make your argument, and then
the problem is that I've made a good point about murder. That he doesn't believe that anybody above the age of 5 could be murdered because they're not innocent. because murder is the taking of an innocent life. I want him to address that.
Well, he won't.
But he's not
So, I
going
mean,
to,
but
unless
Cliff,
somebody else says it. At which
can
point he's not going to be dealing with me because he's afraid of me.
right, but Cliff is going to go next, so maybe Cliff, can you kind of incorporate that what Ocean just said into your?
Cliff, if you want to take that argument and run with it, I'm sure you would do it.
It's somewhat similar. I don't think Christian Hillbilly can justify morality at all, because his version of morality is whatever God says, which is basically the Nuremberg defense. I was just following orders. So if God told him to kill, he would kill because God said so.
But can you rephrase Ocean's argument real quick though, and then ask?
Right. So Cliff Jumper, what I want to have presented to him, because he doesn't think that any life is innocent if they've sinned, but he believes that murder is the taking of innocent life. So how does one murder? Like we in our government, we punish people for murder. We convict people of it. But according to him, none of those convictions, assuming that we're talking about adults murdering other adults or killing other adults, none of those situations would actually be murder.
Yeah, he's effectively redefined what murder is.
Jade wants to add something, if that's okay. Go ahead, Jade.
Well, so I think at the heart of this is what does by innocence? Because if there are no innocents, if even a child can lie or steal, which makes them not innocents, which makes it okay, in the Old Testament for someone to be killed, even though they're a child. Can murder exist, given that every adult has sinned and has probably lied or stolen or done something? So my Christian Hillbilly would be innocence then, when you define murder as a taking of innocent life? Or do you perhaps have two different standards of innocence, one that applies to God's work in the Old Testament and one that applies to human
Well, ma'am, let me ask you a question. Are you familiar with how the law works?
a big question.
Shouldn't be that difficult. Are you familiar with how the law works?
This is why he doesn't want to engage with me.
In general, yes.
So if somebody breaks a law, they're worthy of the... I'm sorry, I thought you were done.
Apologies. No, go ahead.
Okay, so if somebody breaks a law, they violate the law, then they are worthy of the penalty of that law, right?
No. She's asking about children. She asked you to define innocence, which precludes the idea that they haven't broken the law.
I'm talking to her right now, so be silent.
Okay. Depends on the circumstances. It depends on the circumstances surrounding. I assume you're probably familiar with Les Mis. My French is terrible, so I'm not going to try to pronounce the whole thing. But the story behind that, where a man is sent to prison for stealing a loaf of bread, his choice in that case is to let his family starve, commit a crime, a rather minor crime at that. In that case, him steal the loaf of bread, since the greater sin would be to let his family starve. So when you ask if I understand the law, yes, I understand that people need to be punished for their misdeeds. I also we have to understand, and hate to continue to use that word, we have to know why committed, and different crimes are of different severity, even a theft. If a 12-year-old...
So and I don't mean to cut you off, but you're going into a tirade of over a very simple answer. So if somebody commits murder, is it ever right to commit murder?
Well, no, but then we have to define murder. Let's put it this way.
Again, if somebody takes somebody else's life unlawfully, would that be right, ma'am? Would it ever be right to commit murder?
Okay. Okay. If it is never to take someone else's life. It may sometimes be necessary, for example, in war. It may be necessary to take someone else's life.
We're not talking about soldiers going to war. We're talking about you
listening
going to your next door neighbor and deciding you want to shoot that guy just because
asked me an absolute.
he PO'd you for some reason. Is it wrong to commit murder or not?
Jim, if you ask a question, you have to
finish, please.
Finish her train of thought here.
You asked me an absolute question. So to an absolute question.
Yes, because God, aren't you the one that claimed to be a believer?
Yeah.
Yes, I am. Now,
I've got something against
again, that's going sideways. That's going sideways.
Like a child.
If you're going to ask me, is it ever right to kill a human being? My answer would be it's never.
No, I said murder. Murder is very specific.
Let me finish.
Okay, because but don't put words in my mouth. I said murder. Is it ever right to murder?
She wouldn't have to if you answered her question.
You see, that's just that he won't listen.
Somebody takes a life, their life not forfeit.
Go ahead, Jade.
If I may.
Yeah,
it is never right. Okay? I also believe it's never right to kill. I believe that it's sometimes necessary to kill another human being. That doesn't make it ever right. And that's that's the way I look at things. I believe when it is necessary to kill another human being, analyze why that necessity happened and how we can prevent that from ever happening before. I don't think it is ever right to kill, and I don't think it's ever right to murder.
All right, thank you, Jade. I just want everybody to note. Real quick. I have no choice but to hide Jim from broadcast to allow people to have a conversation. This is an appropriate use of moderation. He's not being biased, so I have perfect amount of time to respond to these things. But if I do not hide him from broadcast, we cannot have a conversation, and it just ruins the entire hangout. So I hope everybody understands that.
Okay, can I go here because I've got a good point here.
Christian
Hillbilly,
I really
just
want
go back for a minute. Wait,
might be able
Cliff, if I could just go back for a minute, just please, and let you go. I don't think I've ever quite gotten my answer from Christian Hillbilly, because he says that murder is the taking of an innocent life. Define innocence then. How does he
you know how the law works, ma'am? And is it ever wrong to commit murder?
He answered a question.
Who dictates what is right and what is wrong? Do you make the decision, or does God?
He's answering a question with a question, so he's already being dishonest.
Correct.
He's clearly
Come
not
on,
a
Ms.
Christian.
J. This should be easy for somebody who claims to be a Christian.
He's clearly not a Christian. He keeps.
Does God make the call on what's right or wrong, or do you?
I want everybody to see he is a Christian. He's just the worst of the worst of the worst type of Christian.
Well, he claims to be. He's not behaving.
No, he is a Christian.
But
he's also given
I'm just good at pointing out hypocrisy.
Definitions.
One of my favorite hashtags.
Chris, oh my God. He's given two very.
No, Jade, you can't. Abade's talking and everybody's interrupting him. Abade, finish your thought.
I'm sorry, Abad. Continue, please. Yeah.
Thank you. He's given two very separate definitions of murder. First one was the killing of an innocent. The second one was unlawful killing. Which one is it?
That wasn't his. He never provided that definition.
All right.
I provided that definition.
Yeah, that he actually had that definition. He actually said that he might have been.
Who makes the laws?
Oh my God! I just invited him, and he's already interrupting. Jim, I'll give you.
Or does God make the law?
I still haven't gotten an answer. It's a very simple question. How do you define innocence?
Does God make the law, or do you make the law?
You cannot answer
with the dishonesty.
Yeah, I know. So Jade, ask your question.
If you cannot answer
the
question,
reason I'm trying to get you to go down this trail without a 15-minute tirade on your end is I'm trying to point out there is the innocence that we are born with. We are born completely innocent, and then there's the breaking of the law. Now, if somebody comes and they kill you, what did you deserve? What did you do to deserve the death penalty? Nothing, because they chose arbitrarily to kill you. That's why we call it murder.
Not have chosen arbitrarily to kill me. I don't know.
Oh, really? So they chose in a rational fashion to kill you? Would that make it right?
All right, Jim,
no one said anything about rational. And you're still not answering the question. I guess you're trying to avoid the question.
Yeah, you can't answer it.
well,
His innocence. And I already mentioned, if I may,
what
please.
is right and what is wrong. God is the one is the
Answer
arbiter
your
of truth,
question.
the arbiter of absolute laws. Without God, you have no absolutes. Period.
And as such, you haven't got a sense of morality.
Still, okay, you still have not answered the question. What do you consider, if you consider murder the taking of an innocent life, how do you define innocence?
All right, you have one more
Point
chance
it
to
out.
answer the question.
That
I
perhaps,
just defined it, ma'am,
perhaps,
but
if
again,
I
you weren't
may,
paying
no.
attention, so I'm not going to explain it a second time.
I
am a
just
special needs
Not
teacher,
fine.
but you're a little bit
You're
beyond what I want to teach.
You're just special.
Okay,
You're just special needs.
It out that perhaps you have
Oh,
two
hold
different
on. I
standards.
gotta
of
say,
innocence.
that was a really particularly douchey comment, Jim. I have a wife who teaches special ed, and I can't believe you just said what you just said.
I applaud her for her ability to handle that. I actually retired from that particular position because it was too hard on me.
Wait, bullshit flag. You have never taught.
I missed that.
Yeah, you have never taught children. You've never been a counselor. You have no accreditation, no education.
Really?
Nothing. Yeah, you've actually admitted this.
Yeah, I teach. I'm a substitute teacher now. I still substitute teach.
What's your accreditation?
I substitute teach.
What's your
That's
accreditation?
what I do.
What's your accreditation?
That's not.
Sir, you said I never taught. I'm telling you I did. I don't care if you believe me or not. The fact of the matter is I've explained this to this poor woman, and she's not paying attention or incapable of comprehending it. I'm really thinking she's incapable of comprehending the discussion that we're having.
Okay, I'm hiding you from broadcast. Everybody, I want everybody to listen. I want
Can
everybody
I do a to and fro with him,
I
please?
want everybody to listen real quickly. I'm asking Christian a very specific question. He claims he is a teacher, and I want people to understand, if you are not qualified, if you have no accreditation, you're not a fucking teacher. Now, Christian Hillbilly, answer the question straight up. Do you have any accreditation or education to which you have the title teacher?
I've answered that question already, sir. I'm a substitute teacher. I can teach anywhere from kindergarten all the way up to high school. There you go.
So that
helps.
means
That helps.
So that means no.
Now,
yeah, that means
He's not going to answer.
he's not going to
the law works
okay.
now.
So
Have you gotten that clear in your head?
So this is another example of Christian Hillbilly's morality, where he feels he can lie by omission, which is a lie. He's lying about his accreditation because he doesn't have any. So that is a lie by omission, by claiming that he has false accreditations that he does not have and false titles that he does not have.
No, that's what you said. I never said I had accreditation. I said I'm a substitute teacher.
And you need
You
to
cannot, which means
You
you're not
don't have to
accredited.
have a college education to teach. To substitute
Yes, you do.
teach.
Yes.
I would ask where you teach, and yes, you do have to be
And
licensed.
it doesn't matter. But the fact of the matter is, ma'am, you don't understand how the law
Jim.
works.
Jim, give me a moment here. They are correct. He is correct. You don't necessarily need teacher's accreditation to be a substitute teacher in many districts.
Well,
that
Tony, you don't have to have a certification.
or a bad thing, but you don't. You do have to have a college degree. There's a number of hoops you got to jump through, but no, you don't need to have teacher's accreditation.
Well, actually, you don't even need a college degree anymore. Not even a 2-year degree.
Yeah,
they've lowered the standards now, so any old hillbilly could just jump in and be in front of kids.
But I want to make this
Dear
clear:
Lord.
the difference between accreditation and certification.
Oh, dear Lord. Are we going to talk about the
But
law
anyways,
or
okay,
what?
so he's not qualified, as we all agree. We're moving on. We're moving on.
If I could just say, I find it very funny that he then about the law when you start to bring up the law, Steve.
I can't do it,
And
right?
and you asking me over and over again, do I understand the law, is simply a red herring.
No, it's not. It's pointing out, ma'am, that if somebody comes and kills you, I'm sorry, I thought
you are
over
not
next door to kill you. That is taking your life without
in
a
order to
lawful
let
basis.
other people talk.
The government has a right to take your life if you.
All right. So, anyways, Jade, let's move on from this. Jade, he's not going to answer you.
Yeah, well, everybody keeps muting me. Y'all have a great day. God bless.
All right. Thank you for joining us, Jade.
Answer.
Yeah. Well, he's leaving because he obviously he cannot. But hang on a second.
No way.
All right, hang on. He left on his own
I don't
accord.
remember who it was.
Jade, you have to let me speak. He left on his own. Yes, okay. He left on his own accord. Christian Hillbilly has been demonstrated. He is unable to answer these types of questions. When he's called out on him, he runs, which is not the first time. Matter of fact, he did this the other day on the Facebook page when he got called out on something, and Heretic Woman was a witness to this. He ran on it. This is what Christian Hillbilly does. So I'm not gonna end this hangout. I want to keep it open even without him, if that's okay. But I do want to put a final word on this. That since this hangout was basically to show my moral system compared to him, I want everybody who ever watches this video to weigh in on this. Who would you rather have as a moral person, a moral system? My moral framework or Christian Hillbilly's? And people need to ask that kind of question, because I think he's the most despicable example of a Christian that I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, I have no words to tell you how just god awful.
Oh, he's entertaining though. I have to tell you that. I've been sitting in my living room watching this, and the second he started trying to square the circle with Ocean's question, that right there tickled me to fucking death. Like, I was like, it's obvious, because you saw when the switch happened, right? You saw exactly when Ocean went, hold on for a second. What happened between Abraham and his son now? And so you saw him then square that, or attempt to square the circle, and then all these other topics came up, and I'm like, this motherfucker, never will he answer a direct question that he feels may have to force him to reevaluate something he's previously said. Because for those of you who are just now tuning in to Christian Hillbilly, he's been doing this for a number of years. Yeah, he's been doing this on a number of mediums. All right, he is hip to the game, so he knows a lot of the tricks of the trade. So when you're asking him questions, you have to make sure that you have to pin him down on language. That's why he likes to be very loose with language, because he'll equivocate later. He does it purposely. And the reason why I wanted to go ahead.
So to add on to what you're saying, Greg, is that he knows this is why he is so dishonest, because he knows that he made him said one thing, and now suddenly he's contradicted himself. And rather than accept that he's contradicted himself, he has to become dishonest to justify his position.
Yeah. He knew it. I was gonna say the second Ocean raised his contention, he knew he fucked up. He knew, and that's why you heard the pause. Well, you didn't hear it, but that's when you saw the pause. So I was like, come on, I got kind of frustrated listening to other people trying to jump in, but like when Ocean started pressing him, you knew for a fucking fact he wasn't going to answer that question. Everyone knew that, because he wasn't answering shit.
He literally
and he deals with those kind of conversations in a way that's very cowardly.
And then stuck his fingers in his ears.
That's why I kept.
Go ahead, Jade.
That's why I kept pressing him on what his definition of innocence was, and he wasn't even listening to me because I gave him an out.
He defined innocence earlier on in the conversation. His definition of innocence is one who hasn't sinned.
But I gave him an out, and if he had actually bothered to listen to me, he would have realized I gave him an out. I told him, do you have two definitions of innocence? Is there innocence defined by God's standard or by human standard? Because he could have simply said, well, in the Old Testament, Isaac was not innocent, but God's standard have a different standard for human beings. And it's, against the law, there's a different standard for innocence for human beings. I mean, he could have just taken that and run with it. But
he believes that his standard is God's
so
standard.
Stubborn.
So I'm just saying, even that out, I wouldn't have given them that out.
Well, I was just trying to see
pressed him on the out.
You know what? It is a possible out right now. And I got to say, for those who are not familiar with Christian Hillbilly, I'm going to tout my own video. Go and watch Steve's Best of Volume 1. First clip is with Christian Hillbilly, but he's under the name Pops. He did the exact same thing by not being able to answer a simple yes or no question, and is one of the funniest things of all time. It is still one of my favorites.
He's a lot like what's his face that won't I can't remember his name now. He won't answer close-ended questions at all, ever. He won't ever do hypotheticals. Right. God damn it, I can't remember his name. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Roy Montero.
Yeah, Roy Montero.
He's a lot like Roy Montero. If you've ever dealt with Roy Montero, he's a lot like Christian Hillbilly, where they want to ask you general questions and they don't want to be specific so that they'll have wiggle room later on in the conversation. And as you've seen, when he's asking you a general question like, well, what happens when you break the law? Well, when Jay brought up what happens in war, he asked that for a reason. UCMJ is not the same thing as a penal code in whatever state or county. It's completely fucking different. There's different penalties, and there's different stipulations, there's different criteria. So when he's asking a general question like that, it actually covers more than what he's anticipating. So it really shows you the depths that some of these guys will go through just to try and profess what they think that they know. And as a bonus, he was lamenting upon the fact that he was trying to teach everyone else in the room, as if everyone in the room didn't have an IQ over 70, like himself.
Yeah.
You know, I had a conversation with a street preacher in Manchester a few months back, before the summer. And, you know, I tried to explain, you know, because people like Christian Hillbilly, they claim to have a moral certitude, a moral standard, but it's only a claim. You know, he can't demonstrate that that claim is the truth. You know, it's the old youth of a dilemma type thing, you know. But so I chatted to this guy in the street and I said, you know, effectively they're looking at it on this black and white, right or wrong. There's no gray area from that point of view. And I said, okay, well, I can give you two sins that I can justify lying and stealing. When it comes to lying, no, Mr. Nazi, there aren't any Jews in my attic. You know, I know there are Jews in my attic, but if I say there are Jews in my attic, they're going to get taken away, killed, who knows what, shot right in front of me. I could end up getting in trouble myself, etc., etc. So it is better under that situation to lie rather than tell the truth. And the guy, oh, that's not lying. Well, hang on, a minute ago, you were saying that lying is wrong. Well, now this is a lie. And in the end, he had to spin it so that, you know, oh, well, lying is saying that Jesus isn't God. I mean, that's literally what he had to do. He had to he had to change what lying meant. You know, and I went through guns. You know, I said, you know, to steal the gun of someone who is showing signs of mental instability and they're going to go and commit a mall shooting. If I steal their gun, you know, well, that's not stealing. Of course it is. I'm taking their property without their permission. You know, and I'm not doing it to help me. I'm doing it to help the people he may have shot, or maybe even himself, because, you know, either the cops are going to kill him or, you know, he's going to kill himself rather than get caught. So stealing is the right thing to do in that given situation. Oh, yeah, but this is England. Okay, we live in America. What now? And again, he had to twist and squirm in order for it to be a black and white situation, but not be a black and white situation. And he knew, and this is where the personal dishonesty came in, because he knew what I was saying was a good argument, but he couldn't accept it because he needs it to be the case, his Jesus God thing to be the case.
I try not to give Christian Hillbilly too much credit about thinking and like having forethought, because he's not that bright, as we see. This is the same guy who fucking told me that a non-complex organism is a rock. We gave him like 5 minutes to come up with an answer, and that's his best answer. So for those of you who've never seen a biology book, a rock is not an organism. So yeah. It's really like, I'm not even joking. Like, he really said that shit.
Unless it's a rock lobster. Dang, 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 dang.
By the way, I'm gonna keep this open for a little bit less than 20 more minutes. I need 2 hours.
Was that a reference to VeggieTales?
One sec. I want to end this exactly 2 hours on the mark. So this is a digestible video, because I think this is going to be one of my all-time favorite takedowns. So I want this to be something that somebody can actually sit through. So if I have to start another one afterwards, even if we lose our audience, that's fine. I want to keep this under 2 hours, if that's okay. So I want to get everybody else in who hasn't had a chance to kind of weigh in, and obviously, you know, back to Tony. Tony, can you just hang tight for one more minute?
Yeah, sure.
We need. I mean, every time I get Tony on, I want to have more of a dialogue with him, but it never seems to be the case. I don't. It's kind of like the old skit with Mark Damon and Jimmy Kimmel. You know. You guys know that little running joke that they have? You know, we ran out of time. Sorry, Matt Damon. No, you guys.
No, I've not heard of it.
Oh, it's freaking hilarious. Go look up the feud between Matt Damon and Jimmy Kimmel. It's one of the funniest. It's been going on for like, I don't know, like 8 years or something. It is probably the longest running skit I've ever seen, and it's freaking hilarious. It's taken a life of its own. But anyways, somebody else that wants to weigh in on this. Get in on this video now. Drag, are you done with your commentary? Because yours was really good.
Oh, I always have more commentary on this fucking dude. Like, he is a piece of work. For those of you who want bonus material, fucking bonus material, I love it. The second he denied saying that abhorrent fucking spiel to that girl, I immediately remembered that our good friend Mark Anoia had called him out on that and actually cataloged the hangout in which he retold it to an old head named Ray. If you go to my G Plus, look at my last post and go into the comments, and I believe it's at 5 hours and 59 minutes where he explains the whole situation with the girl on the bus. It's fucking disgusting. And you can sugarcoat it in any number of ways you want to. The fact that you just brushed off someone's abuse, someone's molestation, it's like beyond insensitive. So to me, he can't even register basic human emotions unless it's someone that he personally knows. But then he wants to say that, oh, we all have this morality written on our hearts. It's everywhere. It's on our sleeves. He's full of shit. He is absolutely full of shit.
That supports my idea that I think he would be a sociopath if he didn't have his belief system. I don't think he has a chance to things like empathy.
Well, this is exactly the point I was trying to make before, that he doesn't have a sense of morality, because he says his morality comes from what God says. And as such, if you're going to, it's something that I saw Penn Jillette say years ago, and it was if your reason for doing good things is because you want to go to heaven, and you're not doing bad things because you don't want to go to hell, then that's not morality. That's fear, and so you're effectively only doing good things for that reason. Now, for me, I do good things because I'm a good person. Generally, I can be a bit of a dick at times, and I make mistakes, but I do good things for people. I say nice things. I'm pleasant to people. I effectively mirror how other people treat me. That's the way it works for me. But I mean, I've explained how I realized about lying and stealing. It was a story from when I was a kid. And basically what happened was I stole a couple of cookies from the cookie jar. And my mum said, "Did you do it?" And I said, "No." And my dad comes home from work and he says, "No, he didn't do it." And so there's a confrontation, and mum looks at me, and I'm looking at my feet. "Well, I didn't do it. And your dad didn't do it. And the dog didn't do it. So there's only one person left, isn't there?" And that logic came to my head. Like, yeah, okay. "Did you do it?" "Yes." So I got punished, and rightfully so. A couple of months later, a couple of cookies go missing from the cookie jar. I get into trouble, sent to my room, whatever it was. Okay. Tea time comes. Dad turns up. Guess what Cliff did? Oh, I took them. Mum was very apologetic. But what did I learn from this? I didn't learn because God said so. I learned because, if you steal, you get into trouble. If you lie about it, you get into worse trouble. And if you didn't do it and you lied about it, it's the boy who cried wolf type thing, people don't believe you. So my reason for understanding why this moral thing is useful in society is because if you lie and you steal, people don't believe you, people don't trust you. And I think that the last half of the Ten Commandments is effectively that. If you lie and you steal and you kill and you have sex with your neighbor and you cover your neighbor's stuff, all it does is create enmity in a society where people don't trust each other and you're afraid to leave your home, and a community cannot work unless you have the trust. And it even comes down to what side of the road you drive on or what speed you have. If you follow the rules, you follow the law, accidents are less likely to happen. It's as simple as that.
Okay. I agree. Kels, you want to go next? You've been trying to get in here and get.
I'm very curious. Is it even moral to convince a sociopath to leave religion if this is their stance?
That is a damn good question, actually. And by the way, I'm going to give you a twofold opinion real quick. One, I'm not here to change anybody's moral or religious viewpoints. I don't care if they go from theist to atheist or atheist to theist. That's kind of irrelevant to me. So my channel is not set up to make people leave their faith. I couldn't care less. Sometimes, obviously, like Young Earth Creationism, I want them to get out of that. I know Tony would agree. Young Earth Creationism people need to leave that. For him, he may want them to leave his religion as well. I don't particularly care, however. But that's a good question. If they have no moral compass and the only thing keeping them from doing reprehensible things is their religion, that I think maybe it is a bad move to try to get them out of that. We had somebody in our community like that by the name Mark Thomas, who literally has said, if it wasn't for his beliefs in the Bible and God, he would be going out raping, pillaging, and killing. That's
I think
scary.
he's lying when he says that.
Well, it might be true. Cliff, you might be right, and I think that probably he wouldn't be doing those things. But the fact that he enunciates it, the fact that he even suggests it, is scary to me. Is it not?
Yeah, I would agree. Okay. I mean,
scary, but we think it's rather unlikely that this thing would happen.
It doesn't really matter. The fact that he has to even incorporate that into an argument is pretty pathetic. But Tony, what we want to add something? Tony?
Not really. I mean, I agree with you. I'm surprised at how much I agree with you, because I actually entered into this conversation thinking you and I might be diametrically opposed on most points, but I've learned a lot.
Really? I'm just kind of curious. What points do you think we would be opposite on? I love your channel. I agree with you on. I watched one of your. I mean, I watched a lot of your videos, but I mean, I was actually. I'm not gonna lie. I was watching one of your videos, and I do a critiques, and I was thinking, okay, you have a video on polonium halos. Let's see what you get wrong on it.
Careful, Tony. Careful, Tony. He's setting you up for making him shiny.
I couldn't find anything. I think you did an exceptionally good job in that video.
That means a lot, because I've seen your video that went over it. That it was like an hour and a half almost. But and I when I watched yours, I was like, I should have included that.
No, you kept it brief. You kept it succinct. I went into the technical details. That's not what your video is for. I mean, you shouldn't do the technical stuff, because your forte is making things pretty simple and compact and succinct and digestible. And you did a great job.
I'm going to I'm going to fail immeasurably in my first episode the next season, because I'm talking about hydroplate theories or hydroplate theory, and it ends up, it's a 20-minute video. Usually I try to keep them under 10 minutes, but this one I couldn't get it under that.
Well, sometimes these things are more difficult. I mean, you're talking about Walter Brown's amazing theory, right? Real quick, if you guys have not subscribed to him, go sub to him. I want to see his numbers go up. I mean, and let me know in the live chat if you went over right now to go sub to him. The link is in the video description. His
Why don't
channel.
we also just take a moment to mention that for my subscribers that are watching, that you hosted the Bill Ludlum versus Ken Hovind video, I guess, debate. Same thing with King Crocoduck. I mean, you've gotten some amazing debates going on, and anybody that's not subscribed to you has been missing out.
This is bromance,
and that's not. I'm not placating you. I've actually, when you got Kent Hovind and you got King Crocoduck, I was like, how the hell did he get that?
It's easy to get King Crocoduck. A lot of people don't realize that if you just send him nudes, like, he responds to you really quickly.
That is kind of true. That there's some truth to that, but yeah. No, I've known King Crocoduck for a while, and I'm glad that he's decided to get back involved in the community. He has his own channel now. People probably don't know about it. It's kind of a hidden channel per se, but he does vlogs on it, and he does it with the Academic Agent and Zoroastrium something or other. It's really highbrow. It's very, very difficult to understand, because King Crocoduck talks on a level that most of us just don't even bother to even know the words that he uses. He can take concepts and put them so eloquently, and even I'm like, what the hell did he just say? It sounded beautiful, majestic, but I don't know if I agree with it or not.
Is it all about quantum mechanics?
No, it's more about political stuff. He does a lot with Lycosium. Was it Lycos? Oh, God damn. See, I don't. What's the name of the Russian position where genetics wasn't the theory of evolution, but is basically based upon Lysenkoism. Thank you. See, this is why I have people around. I don't have to look anything up. They're my Google. Yeah, Lysenkoism, which failed miserably. I mean, Russia their economy suffered obviously because of that. But he's very much in the Lysenkoism. Thank you. This is why I don't have discussions on the topic. I know about these things, but Anyways, let's get somebody else in here real quick because we only got a few minutes left. Marcus, my friend. You haven't really said much. Welcome, by the way, back. Marcus is.
Oh, thanks. No, just I think there's going to be some background noise because I'm traveling right now, but I'm intently listening. Very interesting.
How's Logic doing, by the way?
He's doing good. I mean,
he hasn't really got
same old, same old.
Lately. He must be really busy. He had that video on the takedown of deflating atheism, who Dragnot loves. It's one of his favorite videos.
Yeah. No, he's been putting up a lot of videos. He's been real busy. I think he had like in a matter of like 2 or 3 weeks, he put out like 4 videos. So he's been crazy busy.
Yeah, I saw that.
He put up one today, didn't he?
Yes, he put up. Oh no, actually, I think DA put up a video to Logic. I saw, not the other way around. But he did a guest spot with Godless Engineer, which Logic doesn't usually do, which was I was kind of amazed. Because I know he would never come into my room because I love Logic and I don't think we disagree on a lot of things, but what we do kind of disagree on, it is what it is. But I have the utmost respect for Logic. I loved his videos, but I don't think he would ever join this type of hangout. Just not his thing, which I respect.
Because it's a clusterfuck.
This hangout was not a clusterfuck. This hangout was well moderated.
But it was only well moderated by you stopping by hiding from someone from broadcast.
It's sad, isn't it, Cliff?
By not letting me moderate him. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Not letting me moderate.
Tony, can I ask you really quickly? Are you taking a hard agnostic position with your channel?
My channel doesn't have a position. It's not capable of having a position.
He was asking me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
With the channel itself, no. With the series, How Creationism Taught Me Real Science, yes. I keep thinking I want to go ahead and do all these other things where I'm talking about more subjects, and I will. I'll get to them. But as far as the show goes, no, it's completely agnostic. In fact, it's worse than that. It's apathetic. I mean, it doesn't care whether there is a God, whether there is he doesn't even care whether the evolution is true. The point of the show is to destroy creationist arguments. So when I announce it here so we can make it kind of historic, not this season, but the next season, I will end the actual show as a seasonal thing, and I'll start just doing occasional videos. But at that same time, that's when I'll start doing other things. Like I've got an evolution of religion series that I want to do. I just don't have time to do it because this show requires a lot of research. So right now with this show, it's completely agnostic. But the channel itself, no, I'm pretty close to Steve McRae in that I can't say there's no God, but I don't really see any evidence for one.
Yeah,
I hope that answers your question.
Can I ask a question relating to that?
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
What evidence would you want for their what evidence would convince you of a God?
Here we go.
Yeah, you want to?
No, that's a great question.
You want to say that next show, Ocean? That's going to take a long time, I think. But go ahead.
I think that
we should, because I swear to you, I'm going to go ahead and show you the weakness of my position. I like to tell you that, if you want to show me proof that there's God, show me God here. But no, the truth is, kind of proof that I'm looking for. If my parents, both of whom are dead, showed up at my door and told me that there's a God, I would be right to have questions, but I'd believe them.
Oh, I would too. I mean, here's the thing.
You wouldn't think that was.
I think that would be very justifiable to hold a belief that God exists. If I had my dead father come back and tell me, yes, God exists, I would be like, okay, I'm justified to have this belief. Whether the belief is true or not, you can't have positive certainty, right? But I would be justified to have that belief. By far.
I have
was trying to suss this out, but Steve, so if he came back, you wouldn't think that was a hallucination. That wouldn't be your first thought.
Do any of us really think that our what we experience is a hallucination? Most of us, I think most of us believe we experience. So no, that would not be my first my first inclination. However, to give credence to what you just said, I have experienced thought were supernatural. I can go into detail in a later episode or a later interview, but
yeah, sure, we can just assume that there was an experience that you can explain. So
right, and I look back on those experiences, and I have realized that there are a lot of little elements to it that didn't make sense, and that I can pick it apart and go, okay, maybe I was a kid, maybe I was just having a dream, maybe that really didn't happen to me. But I do remember it happening to me, and I do remember panicking and going into my parents' bedroom. I was very young when it happened. So yeah, I can't say I've had no paranormal experiences. I just, I was so young.
Well, I think this is a great topic for our next video, don't you guys? I mean, we can actually talk about more, because I got to end this. So I'm gonna be ending it like right now. So I want to thank Tony once again for coming in. I not fanboying on your videos, but I'm fanboying on your videos because I just think they're awesome, because this is what my channel started off being, right? Debunking creationism, younger creationism, but in real time, right? There's a different style. Some people prefer to do real-time debunking and takedowns like this video we have in right now. This was one of the best takedowns I've ever seen of Christian Hillbilly, how everybody just kind of understood his position and how immoral it was. I think that people like Christian Hillbilly should not be giving a platform. And unfortunately, because of the situations, I was obligated to give him a platform. I probably won't again in the future, obviously, except for maybe entertainment value, because as Dragnot said, the guy's entertaining. I mean, you can't take that away from him. The amount of just ineptitude that he has, and the things that he say, people get a laugh out of, and they find it disgusting, and we like watching train wrecks like that. But I'm going to be Cliff. You want to go ahead and say something real quick before I end this?
Well, I would disagree. I think giving him a platform so he can show how obtuse his arguments are is very, very useful.
Yeah, no, it's a two-edged sword. I'm not going to disagree. I mean, I'm not one to talk. I give, Hovind a platform, right? It's a two-edged sword, right? So with that, though, I want to thank everybody who watched this. We had well over 100 viewers the entire time. I hope that everybody who has watched this or will ever watch this, because I think this is going to be a very popular video.
I think we need to mention the fundraiser before we actually end this. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't.
For what? What fundraiser?
I started a GoFundMe after listening to about 5 minutes of about $575 for a lobotomy for Christian Hillbilly. I think it'd be an improvement.
That actually might be a worthwhile project. I don't know if it's legal, but it's worthwhile. The
Christian persecution that's going on here. Oh,
this might be a little bit of an off joke.
All right, I have to end this. I can't go down any more rabbit holes. Ocean, you want one last word? Go ahead and take it, and then I will be starting another video. But I want to finish what I was saying first. Ocean, is that everybody who is watching this or ever will watch this, please leave a comment on the video of what you think about the topic as far as who has a more moral framework. Not necessarily me, but in general, do you think that Christian Hillbilly, as a Christian, as my opinion, a very deplorable type of Christian, has a moral framework? Because I do not want people to argue that Christianity has no moral framework, because that's not true. There are many moral Christians, a lot of moral Christians. This is not about is Christianity moral or immoral. This is strictly is Christian Hillbilly's version of Christianity immoral. Okay, I want everybody to understand that. Go ahead, Ocean, take it out. What you got?
I think Christianity has a really bad moral framework.
Well, you're a polytheist. Of course you do.
Of course I do, right? But I wanted to, I guess, if you want to work it out with me at some point, I definitely want to do a video with you where we ask atheists about what evidence they would accept about a God.
Yeah, no, I'm thrilled to do that. In fact, you asked me the same question on Facebook, and I took the atheist position. And did I have good answers?
I don't if I remember the conversation correctly, my thought was no. But
no, you didn't. No, wait a minute. Wait, I gave you some examples, and you said, "Yeah, I would." You agree with me on those?
Oh no, that's right. But you were talking about like a specific.
Right, I'm talking about local.
You were talking about monotheism.
Yeah,
that you would accept that as evidence for monotheism, and that was interesting to me. But I was also like, I don't know how you would demonstrate that. So.
No, but what I said was I could give examples, and I gave you a couple of examples in specific cases, and obviously it's a big topic. So did the examples I give you qualify what I said? That
no, I remember, if I recall correctly, I was like, I can agree with you on that specific thing, but that wasn't. That's like a certain kind of God that was.
Sure. No, I understand that. It's a very different argument for global atheism.
But no, it's like a lot of atheists don't have that kind of answer. And I haven't had an atheist really answer me in a way that I felt was satisfactory. On that,
we can discuss it in the after show.
But back to the conversation with Christian Hillbilly. With Christian Hillbilly, I had like, it was extremely frustrating that he muted me in the middle of that like turned down my volume so that he just couldn't hear me. And I think it was indicative of his style of debate and who he engages with, why he engages with them.
Oh yeah, total dick.
It was very, very frustrating because I think he saw that I had caught him.
Yeah.
And as soon as he saw that I had caught him, he excommunicated me from his echo chamber.
He had to silence you because you caught him out.
Right. You could just hear the frustration in his voice.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of the conversation I had the other day with that other guy, Eric Wolfbitten Joel. Another video that if you have not.
Oh, he took that down, by the way, Steve.
I know he did. I could have. But okay, admit it. So glad that I downloaded that and re-uploaded it. I mean, that was great for posterity that I have that on record now. And he deleted his thing. I understand. I think that I just destroyed him in that video. I think there's a reason to put these videos up there, and I have no problem if I get destroyed in a video. I'll leave it up there as well. I mean, I'll learn from it, right? I'll be like, you know what? Yeah, that video, I sucked in it. I don't think Wolfbitten understands how to do that. He just deletes the video, right? Because he doesn't learn from anything.
Unfortunately, people link their ego to their video output, and as a result, they are more interested in looking good rather than learning.
I just don't understand that. I have no problem. I'm out there all the time. I have no problem people telling me, Steve, that's a bad argument, because I'd be like, okay, let's try to shore it up, right? Let's make it a better argument. That's how I've gotten to be where I am as far as my mental framework, right? I've learned a lot.
I just wanted to.
Go
ahead. I just wanted to say, terribly persecuted.
You should. Wait. Is this because you're a female, a Catholic, a Christian?
She's not a real Christian, is she? She's not real.
Don't forget the lesbian part. It's all of the above. I'm just terribly persecuted. I'm just sitting here in a well of persecution.
I know. My hangouts are just like that, I guess, sometimes.
Well, it's just terrible.
Jay.
I'm a horrible man. I guess Christian Hillbilly has a better moral framework than I have. I'm sorry.
Horrible man. Okay, you are all horrible people. And you are all destined to go to the hell that I don't believe in. So there.
I've actually managed
Tony finally figures out how to do mod control a little later in the game. All right, guys, I'm going to start another hangout in about 15-20 minutes. It'll be on this channel. I'll try to link it to the video description later on, so people that watch this in the future can watch the after show. If not, it'll be on the Great Debate Community G+ page. If you're not a member of the Great Debate Community, please go to the link below and join. If I had Barney in here, he would do his little soundboard thing, but he's not in here. So with that, subscribe, like, and leave comments. And I want to thank everybody for watching once again. We'll see you in about 15 minutes. And with that, I'm ending the hangout.